Hi friends, it's Mandy. Thanks so much for joining me for another process video. Today I'm creating a layout for the Vicki Boutin design team, and I decided for this layout to pull out an older photo. So this is from about 8.5 years ago, and it was on my son's second birthday. And I don't tend to scrapbook my photos in order. When I first started scrapbooking, I felt that I needed to start when they were born and work through up until, well, I probably would have got up to date. And I started to get really bogged down with that, and I felt like it became a bit of a chore. And so I gave myself permission to just document whatever photo I was inspired by at the time. And so I have older photos like this one from 8.5 years ago that I still haven't documented, and I have current photos that I have. I just kind of document photos as I feel inspired, and I love being able to do that. I'm so happy that I gave myself the freedom to do that, because I really was feeling bogged down and overwhelmed with the chore of having to scrapbook every single photo that I have of my kids. And so now when I come back and document this photo, I'm excited to document it and I'm excited to scrapbook it. And I came across it the other day when I was just sorting through some photos, and so I thought it would work perfectly with these papers from the Vicki Boutin All the Good Things collection. And what I love about this collection so much is that there's so many beautiful colours that you can really pull out so many different colour schemes. You know, I've created very pink layouts and, you know, bright summery layouts, and there's just so many different colour combinations that you can use within this collection. You can create feminine projects, you can create masculine projects. And so, yeah, that's something that I really love about this collection. And so I decided to pull out that beautiful royal blue colour and the teal, and I'm going to stick to that colour scheme with some pops of black for contrast. And so what I decided to do on my background was I'm playing with the iridescent glaze today, and so I used one of Vicki's newer stencils, the circle one, and as you saw there, I applied it in 3 sections. So I sort of had an idea of where I wanted to place my photo, and so with that in mind, I want sort of almost like a T shape, I suppose, with my mixed media. So running down the right hand side and then horizontally across the middle. So that's the shape that I'm sort of going for, and that's what I've got in mind as I'm creating my background. So once the iridescent glaze had dried, as you can see, I'm now coming in with the art crayons to add some messy colour to the background. And so as I'm mixing my colours together, I'm trying to match them to those papers. So that's why I had them sitting there over on the left, because I wanted to try and match my colour on my background to the papers that I was going to use on this page. And as you saw there, I just scribbled it onto some plastic packaging, added some water, and then smooshed it onto the background. And I also splattered some colour as well onto the page. And I really love how this turned out. I love that the iridescent glaze, it gives a really shimmery look through. When you look at it on different angles, you may not be able to see it on the video, but in real life, when you move the page, it looks all shimmery and it's so beautiful. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. So now I'm bringing in my patterned papers. I've matted my photo with that bright blue patterned paper, and now I'm just having a bit of a play with just creating some layers behind my photo. I just wanted to sort of build up some nice layers using those patterned papers and just create lots of dimension and interest behind the photo. And so everything will sort of just be clustered around the photo. The papers and the embellishments are all going to be sort of tightly clustered around that photo. I'm pulling out just those papers in the blues and the greens, and I'm not sort of measuring or anything, but I'm just sort of laying the papers sort of on the page and just marking them with a pencil just roughly where I want to trim them down. And if they're too big, I trim them a bit more. It's just really a matter of playing with those layers until you're happy with how they look. And I did pull out, you can see there over on the left that I had those 12 by 12 sheets of paper, and then I realised that I actually had some scraps of paper of those same patterned papers left over from some previous projects. So I ended up pulling those out and using them, because this sort of layout is perfect for using up those scraps of paper that you have left over from projects, because you only need little bits of each pattern just to sort of tuck in here and there to create lots of layers and interest. So I'm happy with how those layers are now behind the photo. So I've just stapled them together so that I'm not having to reposition them so they don't move around too much. And now I want to add some dimension using some craft foam. So I'm really going to build up the dimension on this page. So I'm first, as you can see there, adding the craft foam to the back of the photo. And then I'm going to go ahead and also add it to the underneath all of those layers, just so they will be lifted up off the page, and then the photo will be lifted up even higher. And that just creates a bit of a separation, I suppose, between the paper layers and the background. And as I said before, just add some nice dimension and interest to the page. So I'm just using some cheap craft foam that I picked up. Actually, my husband bought it for me. I mentioned that I wanted some, and he searched on eBay and surprised me with it. So that was a nice thing for him to do. And so, yeah, I'm just using some craft foam that he picked up for me on eBay. And when I want to cover a large area like this, I tend to use those sheets of craft foam instead of my roll of foam tape, just because it gets expensive if you need to use a lot of the foam tape. You use it up pretty quickly if you need to use it on a large area like this. So I tend to use my craft foam if I need to cover a large area. So now I'm just gluing all of that down using my Helmer 450 glue, which I find works perfectly when you're using mixed media and that sort of thing. It holds really well. So now I'm pulling out the die cuts from the All the Good Things collection, and you can see there I've already pulled out any that I think will go with this page. So anything that's black or blue or that teal green colour. And now I'm just working on just layering some bits and pieces around the photo. And so over on the left of the photo, I'm going to add that die cut that says Life is Good. And then over on the right, I'm just tucking some leaves in there. And then I'm also using that number 2. And that's going to actually be my title for the page, because it is a photo of my son's 2nd birthday. So I thought that that would work perfectly as the title. And then I'm also pulling out one of the paper clips from the collection. That's a cute little bird, and it was the same colours that I'd used in the papers and on my background, so it worked perfectly. And I will end up trimming the paper clip bit off it and just using it as a die cut. So now I'm happy with those embellishments, so I'm going to start getting those stuck down. And as you can see there, I've added some foam tape just under the left-hand side of that die cut, because I want it to overlap on top of the photo. And so for it to sit nice and flat over the photo, I needed to add some craft foam underneath the left-hand side as well, and that will just lift it up to the same height as the photo. And you're going to see in the close-ups at the end, you'll be able to see all those layers and dimension a lot better. You can't, I guess, see it very well here, but yeah, when you have a look at the close-ups, you'll be able to see all of that great dimension that's achieved by using all the craft foam. So I'm also going to add a little bit of craft foam underneath that bird, because once again I want that to sit at the same height as the photo, because it's going to be overlapping the photo. And so I'm happy with how this is all coming together now. I also tucked a little frame there over on the right hand side behind the number 2, to the right of the number 2. You can see it there. And so, you know, this layout was all about just building up the layers. Starting with the background, I built up my layers there, then adding the photo and the patterned papers, and then finally the embellishments, and just creating lots of interest in that way. So now I've pulled out the cardstock stickers from the collection, and I'm going to add one there over on the left underneath where it says "Life is Good." And I also added a little banner to the top right hand corner of the photo, and that's from the Finishing Embellishments pack. And now I'm also, from that same pack, I'm just going to add a few enamel dots around the page. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add my journaling, and that will finish it off. So thanks so much for joining me today. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as I said, I'll have some close-ups here at the end for you, and I will see you next time. Bye.